lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life goes lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
After an absolute barn burner of a race last week for the opener at Daytona, we now come to the most historic track and the first super speedway ever to sign on for the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Darlington International Speedway. Welcome to the Ricmotech Cup Series, presented by Extreme Motorsports. Tony Trapasso, Dave Regal up in the booth with you for this one. And Dave, I don't know about you, but I love me some cup racing here at Darlington.
Absolutely. There is nothing better than cup racing in Darlington, South Carolina. And, you know, right here, we are in the heart of what would be commonly known as NASCAR country. I mean, you know, the sports history is rooted here. It's deep here. This is where the moonshiners are souping up those old V8s to get through the woods during Prohibition. So this is absolutely the heart of NASCAR country.
Absolutely, and there's been so many great battles at this track over the years. You know, Petty and Pearson going toe-to-toe. The Allisons and Cale Yarborough going after each other. Elliott and Earnhardt going after each other. And, you know, the modern battles, you know, history is not done with Darlington International Speedway. But you are watching the Extreme Ricmotech Cup Series, brought to you in part by Extreme Scoring. You can visit them on xmsracing.com for more series information and point standings.
Ricmotech. The search is over. The most
There's only
comprehensive.
one place to go. Ricmotech.com.
optional minimum participation and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Welcome back to Darlington Raceway in beautiful South Carolina here for the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series, as we are just about ready for qualifying to be underway here. Dave Regal alongside Tony Trapasso here on ESBN on YouTube. Make sure if you are just tuning in that you subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. And if you like what you see, make sure that you're giving us a thumbs up. That helps the people that you know and care about here on track tonight be found easier by many different people as they start to search online for some kind of entertainment. So if you're entertained, make sure that you're sharing that entertainment with those around you. Tony, Bryce Senesac last week takes the win at Daytona, and I'll tell you what, that was an incredible race from stem to stern, all night long, side-by-side racing. It did not disappoint at all.
It absolutely did not disappoint. Now, Senesac was tied for the most laps led last week with 17. The other driver who led 17 laps, Scott Rambler, finished back in 5th. But with the bonus points that are going on, not that big of a split yet here in the point standings. Senesac sitting atop the pile, Michael Thwaites, Clinton Cockrell, James Byrne, and Scott Rambler, your top 5 currently. Mike Rominger, G.T. Hawkins, Wes Grant, David Elliott, and Max Shade rounding out your top 10. Only 10 points separate first from 10th.
You know, one of the impressive things last week at Daytona International Speedway is that, sometimes it seems like the caution bug comes out and is just creeping around the racetrack all night long. Well, last week, just 2 cautions all night long in that race. One, of course, was basically directly at fault by the one car as race control had called it, and then just a racing deal. And they didn't even give those drivers a penalty. Of course, penalty points big here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Series, Cup Series. And I'll tell you what, Tony, to see these drivers working around Daytona last week, that was an absolute thing of beauty.
It absolutely was. You wouldn't expect that to be a season opener race. But a lot of these guys new to the series, a lot of these guys coming back to the series, as we heard. As a matter of fact, your winner, Bryce Senesac, has been away from the series for a couple of seasons. He is coming back this season. But we saw pit strategies play out. It was like a chess match at 190 miles an hour. As drivers meeting underway right now, guys looking to get some last-minute practice in, as we've got about 4 minutes left in the session for practice. Then we go to 2 laps of qualifying, unlike the 1 lap we had last week at Daytona. But Dave, the biggest thing we're going to be dealing with tonight is the fact that this track loves to eat right side tires.
Oh, without a doubt. And one of the things that we're going to see tonight, more often than anything, as we notice at so many other tracks, is that the high side is actually going to be the fast line. And no matter where you are, this old woman here, she is just out here to gnaw on the Goodyear tires on these cars. I mean, nobody's safe. And, that high side, that's the quick side. Interesting thing here is that this track has been reconfigured. So the front stretch is actually where the back stretch used to be. And, of course, back stretch where the front stretch used to be if you're following along at home. And, of course, that had happened, what, Tony, 30 years ago? And we're still talking about it today because of the impact on the competition that change made.
It absolutely did. You used to be able to just send it going into 3. Now you're sending it going into 1. You got to kind of tiptoe through 3 and 4, and it really puts a higher price on being a skilled driver to be able to control your tire spin. Now, an interesting fact about this place, if we can go up to our boys in the Badger blimp up there, you notice there's a huge apron on this place, and there's a reason for that. Where the apron is in the corners is originally where you were supposed to drive. That's what they originally designed this track to be. It was a flat track, and they put the banking in as like a safety cushion. It was safer barriers before we had safer barriers. But the guys, during the first practice session, when they turned these guys loose, they found out if they ran on that banking, they could carry so much more momentum up on the banking that the Highline became a thing. And this was one of the first progressively banked tracks before progressive banking was cool.
Yeah, you are absolutely not wrong, Tony, as we do look here on the front stretch at that apron. I mean, we'll get to see the backstretch apron, of course, during the race. But when you look here, I mean, that is all one color too. This isn't like your Bristol, Motor Speedway, where you've got the asphalt on the bottom and the concrete in the bowl. This is all very light colored asphalt. This is basically, as Larry McReynolds would say, a cheese grater. And it's almost hard to see the difference between the bottom row, that bottom lane of the racetrack, and the apron itself. All you can really get a good look at is, of course, the all-important seams that basically denote the lanes here.
Well, they denote the lanes, but that's also where they've had to put seam sealer down to keep this track running in one piece, because the last thing anybody wants to see here at Darlington is a repave, because this track has so much character to it that they don't want to change it. And there's so much history in the asphalt here. I think the last time this place was repaved was in the very early 80s. And they don't get the snow that we get up in the Northeast, or the Midwest. They don't get that here in South Carolina. Yes, they get hurricanes, but hurricanes usually don't rip up concrete.
No, hurricanes generally not hard on concrete. In South Carolina, the soil down here very soft, almost sandy through most of the region. So, basically they worry more about flooding than anything. But as you can see here, as we spin around the outside of the racetrack, that berm there is designed to keep the floodwaters out. But the track Too Tough to Tame tonight will be under attack from these drivers in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Series. As qualifying going to be underway, we will step aside and get ready for that.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
So much.
Qualifying underway here at Darlington Raceway. Here on ESPN, Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso bringing all the action to you. Watching Michael Thwaites right now driving the number 12 Chevrolet Camaro out here. The Space Force number 12 Chevrolet Camaro, as he is turning his first qualifying lap. So far, so good, as we can see him running this high side, that darkened area there where all of that tire tread has been laid into this racetrack over its history. As he comes through turns 3 and 4, we can see he's still riding that wall. Not much of an arc here in turns 3 and 4. The big one is usually in turns 1 and 2, where we're going to see that double arc, Tony.
Well, the biggest thing, too, is if you take a look where the hash mark is, that's really where the track limit used to be. That's where they originally were intending the cars to run, is on the inside of that hash mark going through the corners. But you got to really tiptoe here on your first lap. Make sure you get a safe run in your pocket and then go after it on your second lap, because Darlington, you're expecting to rub the wall. Unfortunately for iRacing timing and scoring, if you touch the wall at any time, it's a 2X.
Without a doubt. And Michael Thwaites did manage to net himself P2 on the leaderboard. Taking a look right now at Alan Hilton, who seems to have decided that he's calling it quits on that qualifying effort. Maxwell Shade in the number 9. Ooh! Ford Mustang just bit a piece of the wall coming down toward the backstretch out of turn 2. That'll invalidate that lap. And we'll take a look at David Clayman here in the number 15 Chevrolet Camaro. And Clayman looking like he is about to lay down a nice clean lap here for his first one. And maybe not, as that did not register, Tony.
He brushed the wall prior to that lap being registered. You can see how much of a safer line he's running on this second lap, doing it backwards to how a lot of guys would do it. They kind of tiptoe, get a feel for the car, let the tires get up to temperature, put the safety lap in, and then go after it. He was after it from the word go.
Well, and to be completely honest, this is the kind of track where tension's going to be high, your excitement level is going to be cranked up a couple of notches because you are standing in the footsteps. It's almost like, to me, Darlington is kind of like that big wooden circle at the Grand Ole Opry. This is the place where Petty walked. This is where Earnhardt walked. This is hallowed ground. We are in the holiest of holies that's left in NASCAR.
It is. Again, the oldest circuit in the NASCAR calendar. This is the grandmother of all super speedways. Now, the other thing to consider too, Dave, this is a different form of racing than we're normally seeing. We normally see 1.5 and 2 mile tracks. This is only 1.36 miles, so just over 1.33 miles.
Yeah, that 1.33 miles is kind of a unique number, something that we don't see almost anywhere in the NASCAR series. And speaking of something that we don't see almost anywhere in the NASCAR series, our super speedway winner last week at Daytona, Bryce Senesac in the 09 Chevrolet, out here cranking it up to finish out his second lap. His first lap had netted him P14, and as he gets ready to cross the start-finish line, we see Senesac getting all the way up to P6.
Pretty solid run. Probably not the run he was hoping for, but he's safe. He's got an idea of what this track is going to do. But the other thing to keep in mind, Dave, weather conditions not as blistering hot as we have seen here in the past. It's right now at triple digits at 100 degrees for track temperature, 2 mile an hour winds, 72 degree ambient air temperature, which means these motors are going to be making gobs of horsepower with a 56% relative humidity, gobs of horsepower, and the track's not as greasy as we have seen. So that's going to definitely play a factor. But the other thing to keep in mind, too, is just past noon in sim time. So this track is definitely going to heat up as the race wears on.
Without a doubt. And we're laying 4 sets of tires tonight. So over this particular race this evening, we should see lap times or tire changes. I would say that pit window probably opens about lap 35, closes about lap 45. What do you think, Tony? And plus we do have only 75% fuel, so really more like lap 35.
35 to 40 is where I was thinking. That's going to put you in the ballpark of when you're going to need tires well before you need fuel. Plain and simple, because this track just eats tires. And I'll be right back.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that we always kind of look at here, especially at an older track with just a few moments left here in qualifying, what kind of racing are we going to have? Are we going to be side by side? These next-gen cars like to be out there single file. It almost seems like the best racers here currently in the NASCAR Cup Series, they're better off picking each other off one at a time. You don't see a whole lot of side-by-side action. I mean, you do see bumping and banging because, of course, if you're not rubbing, you ain't racing. But, the single file, let's pick one another off, get a good run as you're drafting up to one another. That's what these cars are designed for. And, here with the next-gen cars on the oldest circuit in NASCAR, this is a unique marriage of technology.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the old school track with the new school car. It's going to be a lot of give and take early on. You've got to be patient here at the Lady in Black. Otherwise, she will backhand you like a pimp in the street.
Without a doubt. And I believe, Tony, that we only have about 2.5 minutes left of qualifying as we're at 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Just 3 drivers haven't taken a qualifying attempt tonight: Jeremy Clifton, Mark Hanna, and Brandon Shirley. GT Hawkins right now sitting atop the pile his fast time, 29.37. So, and it looks like Brandon Shirley thinking about going out here and making his attempt as he gets the number 85 Ford Mustang up onto the racing surface. Tony, I'm afraid that might actually, the way that he just came up onto the racetrack, he might be getting black flag for an unsafe pit exit.
Safe bet. But he's doing this backwards to how you would normally do it. Normally, yes, in the afternoon you wait till the later time in qualifying, let the track cool down. The only problem for Shirley is the track is heating up. We're already at 105 degree track temperature, and it's just going to get hotter. So, I mean, he's going to have the advantage of knowing what the track's going to feel like when we go green, but the problem is he's not going to really be able to lay down a blistering lap here. See him tiptoeing through 1 and 2 right there. As
those tires are awful chilly.
Oh, that was 3 and 4. I'm sorry. So first lap for Shirley. He is on the clock now. Looks like it didn't pop him from unsafe pit entry or exit. He apparently was below that yellow line until he got to the blue cone.
That's interesting. I'll give him that one.
And that negates that lap.
So Brandon Shirley, at this point, going to be starting not quite shotgun, but as close as you're going to get as he finishes the second lap. That will be negated.
Oh, it did negate his first lap.
Because of the black flag? Yes?
Because of coming up unsafe pit exit. It negated his first lap on him for that. And it just negated the second lap as he touched the wall going through 3 and 4. So,
well, Brandon Shirley going to be bringing it around. Maybe he's using this almost as a little extra practice as he had come into the session late as he is now on his third lap. I'm actually getting kind of curious to what Brandon Shirley is doing right now. There it goes.
Getting teleported back to the pits.
He was definitely beamed up. Tony, let's take a look at the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring starting grid here. These drivers, of course, all getting set down here on the front stretch.
Starting up on the pole is going to be the man for GT Motorsports.
Waiting for him to get on the grid. My goodness.
So GT Hawkins, Michael Thwaites, going to start up on the front row. Second row is going to go to Alonzo King and Mike Rominger. David Elliott and Bryce Senensack, last week's winner, going to roll it off in row number 3. Row 4 is going to see Garrett Heath and Wes Grant, with John Sterling and Alan Hilton rolling off in row number 5.
Row number 6 going to be Christian Gomez on the inside with Dennis Weeks on his outside. Jeff Taylor and Ryan Kling make up row number 7. Ryan Kling and Jeff Taylor, of course, both teammates there in the 5 and the 23. Clifton Cockrell and Greg Carr going to make up row number 8. James Bine and David Clayman going to be starting in row number 9. Row 10, Alex Carr and Maxwell Shade Tony.
Go.
Row 11 going to be made up of Brandon Shirley and Jeremy Clifton. Starting shotgun on the field in 22nd position going to be Mark Hanna, but he is far from Mr. Irrelevant this evening as anybody has a chance here tonight at Darlington Raceway. This is a track where, one dumb thing can happen out on the racetrack, and next thing you know, you are sideways and nobody's happy. So we do see the iRacing.com pace car leading our field through turns 1 and 2. These drivers getting all set up here as we have a long night ahead of us of racing. But I'll tell you what, all things considered, this is what we've all been waiting for. The newest car on the oldest track. This is the kind of thing that everybody who's a NASCAR historian or new to the sport wants to see. As Tony, the iRacing.com pace car is entering turn number 3.
It absolutely is. GT Hawkins going to have the button as the pace car gets ready to haul it on off. As we come to the lady in black, the only thing that's left to say is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some poutine and get it on into South Carolina. Race fans, it's showtime!
GT Hawkins, your pole winner, leads the field down into turn number 1, gets himself single file early with Alonzo King and Michael Thwaites in tow. Everybody's starting to get themselves organized. As I was talking, Tony, while you had stepped away a moment ago, as we have the 3 car of John Sterling back here. I can't even click fast enough. There he is, here on the apron. Something wrong with that GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang. I can't get over saying that. We've discussed that before. As he is now running here in the back of the field, dropped all the way to the rear, down 13 spots. Meanwhile, Alonzo King chasing down GT Hawkins, coming through turns 1 and 2 one more time. Everybody getting nice and organized early on here, Tony.
They are, but the battle's just inside the top 10. As we've got Bryce Senesek, Christian Gomez, Wes Grant, and Alan Hilton all running stem to stern right now. And they are picking them up, laying them down, as we are already on lap 3 here tonight at Darlington. Biggest mover so far is back in the 77. It's running 13th. That's James Byrne in that Dale Jr. tribute scheme.
Taking a look here at that 777, that Dale Jr. kind of look. It's almost like a mix between, I don't know, maybe a little Hellman's, maybe a little Wrangler. That blue and gold paint scheme looking great tonight. And of course, sponsored by Under Armour. Which Under Armour, I got to tell you, Tony, even as a big guy, I love wearing Under Armour. It's flexible, it's comfortable, and the only time that I don't like wearing it is when it's real warm out, because it might wick the moisture away. Of course, your sweat is your body's natural coolant, but my goodness, what comfortable clothing.
It wicks the moisture away, but it doesn't let your skin breathe. But so it's, they're great in the wintertime. I love them in the wintertime.
Oh, absolutely. In the winter, it's great. Anyway, so now that I'm thinking about me wearing skin-tight clothing here,
let's not say we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I got to say, these drivers here with 155 laps ahead of them tonight, get through these first 5 laps, everybody nice and organized. Now, as you can see there in that top ticker on your screen, make sure that you're there in our youtube.com live stream. Make sure that you're giving us a thumbs up there. Let us know in the live chat who you're pulling for. Right now, Monica Clayman is shouting out good luck to her son, David Clayman. King Grant is saying, King Grant, in fact, if the admins are listening, he is asking how to join this league. Jason Richardson
that's
saying,
very simple. All you need to do is head on over to, where's my notes? There they are. Head on over to xmsracing.com, and we will put that in the live chat for you. As, there we go. Right-click there, and voila. That's how you join the league, sir. But xmsracing.com, and we also have somebody asking, where is Mark? Monica Clayman asking for Mark. Well, Mark is back in 18th spot.
Of course, she's referring to Mark Hanna, who is up 5 positions so far this evening in the Napa Auto Parts number 45 Toyota Camry. I was about to say Supra. I was doing Xfinity last night. But Mark Hanna up 5 positions, so obviously after starting shotgun on the field, working his way forward. Of course, don't look now, but he has Jeremy Clifton hot on his heels back here. Just about 2 seconds difference. And, Tony, 2 seconds means a lot more here at Darlington than it does almost everywhere else. And I'll tell you what, right now we have a 2-way battle going on for second position as we see Alonzo King Jr. and Michael Thwaites side by side going down the front stretch. I'll tell you what, this is going to be heating up here.
Thwaites going to get it from Alonzo going into turn number 3, still running stem to stern. Hell, throw a blanket over 2nd through 6th right now.
As Michael Thwaites, Alonzo King Jr., David Elliott, Michael Rominger, and Garrett Heath running 2nd through 6th right now. And these drivers not even thinking about giving up tonight as we're going to keep running through. You can see the battle box there in the right-hand corner of your screen. You can see that time difference there. Of course, we call it time delta within iRacing, but difference delta, all it really is the letter D.
Yeah, but it's a Greek D when it's delta.
That is
and
true.
Those are the best kind of Ds.
That is true. I do like a good delta.
Absolutely. I dated a delta in college. Anyways.
That's a different delta.
True story. But battle for 7th getting hot and heavy, too, between Bryce Senesac and Christian Gomez, as they are still running stem to stern. And Gomez not letting Senesac run away with it. And, you know, this is kind of what we saw last week out of Senesac. He held back during the first half of the race and then really turned it on in the closing laps. As we got a battle going on in front of them as well for 5th, as Heath and Garrett Heath and David Elliott were going after each other for a while there.
Yeah, they seem to have separated themselves out, but right now it looks like Senesac has the lead over Gomez, but Gomez still flirting here with that rear bumper. I'm sure that we're going to be checking in on them very often tonight, as right now Senesac, this is the closest battle on track with less than 0.2 of a second between these two cars. And don't look now, but Jeff Taylor running stem to stern with Greg Carr, as Greg Carr leading Taylor here into turns 1 and 2. I'll tell you what, Tony, things starting to heat up real good here early on with 13 laps of 155 complete.
Absolutely, and it's a slugfest in front of those guys, too, as Byrne and Cockrell are going after each other. Byrne in the 77, Cockrell in the 10, and a big wiggle out of the 77 coming out of turn number 4. That is going to open the door, and behind him, that's Taylor working to the inside of Carr, just sends it.
And Cockrell chasing down James Byrne. He does see his opening. Looks like Cockrell bites that little corner of apron coming out of turn 2. And I got to tell you, Tony, that apron, when you come out of turn 2, if that front left tire so much as tiptoes, maybe gets a barely a full tread over that, it's like a vacuum and wants to suck you down there.
It absolutely does. And that's one of the things that the guys realized very early on in this track's completion. During the first practice session of the first race ever here, they found out that you can run a whole lot smoother up on the banking than you can down on the apron.
Dennis Weeks working the 8 car gets against the wall, gets his Darlington stripe, and allows the 97 of Dennis Weeks to get on by. Alan Hilton in the Maestro's number 8 Chevrolet bites the wall coming out of 2 down the backstretch and allows Dennis Weeks to get past him. So these drivers, everything's starting to heat up tonight, and things getting even closer now between the 10 and the 77. Is it, wow, the 77 looking like he is trying to throw the block in front of the 10 to hold him off, makes the 10 back off, and that opens the door for Jeff Taylor in the number 23 Ford Mustang to get between the 77 of James Byrne and Clifton Cockrell.
Well, that Mustang of Taylor is right now in a Camaro sandwich as he is trying to break the draft of Taylor behind him. Taylor was trying to break the draft of Cockrell. The only problem is Cockrell still had the draft from Byrne. That was not the wisest move ever.
No, I would have to agree, but looks like Clifton was able to get everything back under control. One of the things that I do notice in this league is that these drivers are not on the race radio, screaming at each other. There is a lot of encouragement out here on the track tonight. These drivers, they've got a long season ahead of them here, as we're only in week number 2 of season number 14. And, the 77 bites a little bit more wall as James Byrne, I guess maybe he's trying to scuff up that outside a little bit.
Well, I mean, the good news is, with the new bodies on these next-gen cars, it's not all sheet metal like it used to be. It's carbon fiber. So you can lean on something. Oy! That looked healthy as Taylor caught the wall and, Byrne sideways. But
Byrne
you
sideways recovers and keeps it going.
He does, but that's going to cost him as here comes Taylor to his inside. But you can brush the wall here a little bit easier than in the past. The only thing you got to contact. I'm gonna shut up now because I keep trying to wreck every time I talk. as we got a battle really starting to heat up from 6th to 10th right now, as throw a blanket over those 6 cars. Christian Gomez is showing the way. Bryce Senesac, Dennis Weeks, David Elliott, and Wes Grant all there within striking distance, as well as the aid of Hilton.
These drivers all night long going to be going at it. We're going to take a look here from the blimp, just to give you a little bit of a better view here, because you can see in the lower right-hand side, we brought up the battles box one more time. As these drivers, it only seems like it's less than a second. In fact, between Senesac and Weeks, it's less than 0.2 of a second. But you can see the space that's between these cars. That's fast, and that's really close.
It absolutely is. And I'm looking at what's going on with James Burns in the 77 right now. He may have damaged the right side suspension arms, front and rear, on that car. As Alex Carr trying to take evasive action, he's going to hemorrhage a spot. It's going to let Taylor back by him. But Byrne has just done nothing but backslide.
Yeah, riding here on the front of James Byrne, and right now can't really see. There's definitely some Darlington stripe action here on the camera angle. Ooh, he's having some kind of, either he's really fluttering that throttle or he's got some engine damage of some sort.
Yeah, definitely some good battling going on back there, and right now Byrne is just trying to hang on. The bad news is the good news is there are no limits on the fast repairs tonight. So he's just waiting for the pit window to open here in the next 10 or so laps, hoping that he doesn't bring out a caution, and he's going to be able to get that car fixed and back out on track up to full song.
Bryce Senesac working the inside of Christian Gomez, as Gomez here in the number 27 Ford Mustang trying to hold off Senesac in his 09. They are side by side now for the last 2 laps without giving any breathing room to one another, and quite frankly, they're kind of holding up the 4 cars behind them. These drivers not going to be giving it up anytime soon, as now looks like
Gomez caught the ball coming off the 4.
He did, and Senesac able to capitalize on that. That'll allow Christian Gomez now to start working the inside of the 97 and settle himself right on in here in the 27. So a lot of good racing so far. 26 laps in, Tony, and so far so good as far as keeping it moving forward. Nothing crazy or out of the ordinary that we don't expect already here at Darlington. I mean, these drivers obviously have spent a lot of time practicing over the last week since we left Daytona, and I got to tell you, I think moving from Daytona to Darlington is just a great idea as far as, scheduling. I mean, a lot of leagues, they're out here and they try to follow the real-life NASCAR schedule, even if it's not week for week, so to speak. I love going from something so historic and important like Daytona and coming here to Darlington, South Carolina right after.
That's even more historic. As this track was around during the first season of Daytona, or first season of NASCAR, when they were still running on the beach at Daytona. This was the first purpose-built super speedway ever constructed outside of Indianapolis in the United States. So just a ton of history here. And Dave, what do you say we step away, pay a couple of bills while we got a little bit of a lull in the action? And if anything pops off, we will come back sooner.
The search is over. The most comprehensive oval scoring solution is here. Featuring oval playoffs, adjust drivers per round, custom number of rounds, custom playoff points, provisionals, optional win and you're in, custom playoff displays, rookie championships, optional minimum participation, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Welcome back to Darlington Raceway. We are now under a caution as this just in. Looks like James Byrne has had himself an incident here. We were about to talk about Alonzo King Jr., and instead here we are with James Byrne. Looks like the 77 and the 3 get together, and the GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang just spins the heck out of the 77 of James Byrne, and that'll probably have him jump right on into the pits, Tony.
And we were talking to Byrne earlier, or talking about Byrne earlier, and unfortunately just got completely clobbered.
Yeah, and, you know, one of the things that we do see, let me get on back here to live. That'll get us where we're supposed to be. Here we are, 33 laps of 155 in tonight. Michael Thwaites brings the field down pit road to the number 12 Chevrolet, and as he is now back off of pit road, I lie. Michael Thwaites didn't come down. GT Hawkins had let everybody down. My apologies, Tony.
It happens. Happens to the best of us. But, you know, it's definitely been a tumultuous race so far as we are just getting to the pit window. Thwaites and Hannah both deciding to stay out. That's kind of interesting.
I don't think they were down any laps. In fact, Maxwell Shade first car down a lap, so not real sure exactly what's going on, but there they come now with Thwaites and Hannah coming around.
There we go. As, yeah, Thwaites bringing it pit side this time, and Hannah following him in. It's going to hand the lead of the race back over to the 14 of GT Hawkins. As, bear with me, Dave. I'm trying to find something that needs to happen with the scroll, and I don't think it's programmed in yet. All right, then. We are going to need to get with our SDK specialist to try to reprogram that little info.
Folks, you have to forgive us. Oh.
The background color for the numbers.
That we would have to talk to our SD. I mean, I know how to do it, but I can't do it on the fly like this.
Right.
But we will get that fixed.
We will.
Unless you...
Okay. So as we are still under caution, the first caution tonight, working lap 35 of 155, wholesale pit stops for everybody Some guys coming down to get some damage repaired. Some guys coming down to just get tires and fuel. As a matter of fact, throw a blanket over your top 9 as they all came down for 4 in fuel cleanly. And then from 10th on back, looks like everybody had some damage repair they had to get worked on, forgetting that they have a fast repair. And they did not burn in any of them. As fast repairs are set to unlimited tonight, so no limit. They can get the car fixed at will. As the lights do go out on the iRacing pace car, Hawkins, Senesac, Weeks, Gomez, Hilton, Heath, Cockrell, King, Kling, and Elliott rounding out your top 10 as we get ready to turn them back loose.
And you'll have to forgive me, I can't get that color corrected just quick enough. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit more than 30 seconds. Unfortunately, we can't build an airplane while it's in midair. So we will have that corrected for you next week, folks. But right now, GT Hawkins has his finger on the button, has that foot twitching just above the loud pedal. And as he comes out of turn 4 and enters the Geico restart zone, we'll see him take off, and we are back under green flag here at Darlington Raceway.
That was a great getaway for Hawkins. It's the furthest forward Dennis Weeks Jr. has been all night, as he is plus 10 right now. Bryce Senesac, last week's winner, sitting there in 3rd, as we've got a slugfest going on from about 6th on back.
The 88, the 8, and the 10 all going at it here with the hammers and tongs out early on now on lap 35 of 155. After our first caution, it looks like these drivers trying to get themselves reorganized, as everybody had kind of claimed their space here on the racetrack. Now they're out trying to reorganize, and up here I do see Christian Gomez getting ready to make it a 3-way battle now for 3rd, a correction.
Gomez had just gotten by Senesac. Senesac doesn't seem to be as strong on fresh tires, but as the run wears on, he's able to steadily claw forward. And this is one of those tracks that you really got to be mindful of what you're doing at all times, because it is so easy to just completely annihilate your right front tire with as abrasive as this track is. You're going to feel like Superman on fresh tires for about 2 laps. And after that, you're screwed.
Oh, without a doubt. And one of the things that is, the 80 is all of a sudden using his plow truck skills and getting himself way up here, as he has had an incredible run now getting around the 8. He almost makes it look magical, as he is now about to try to crawl around the 9. And I'm not sure Bryce Senesac going to be allowing Alonzo King Jr. an easy pass here, no pun intended, as they dive down back into turns 1 and 2.
Well, I mean, those are 2 of primetime teammates, so not a real big deal. They're going to be working with each other to try to get away from Hilton right now, as opposed to really beating on each other. But, those 2 should be working together. They're starting to pull a little bit of a... hang on to her.
There he is. Hold on.
Alonzo King was 8 different kinds of sideways coming off of turn 4.
The 10 almost bought himself the 8's bumper here, as Clifton Cockrell had to really check up hard just behind Alan Hilton. And looks like Hilton was able to haul it off and get out of the way of the 10 just in time before bad things would have happened. That was almost caution number 2. And this Code Brown moment brought to you by Alonzo King, who had initially gotten loose and caused that accordion effect.
Absolutely. And then it's an angry hornet's nest from about 13 on back, as you got Clifton, Carr, Thwaites, Romander, and Carr all right there. Just throw a blanket over those guys as they finally get it sorted out, single filed out here, as we are working lap 42 of 155. And here we go. Romander looking to the inside.
And I was about to say, as Romander was looking to the inside of Alex Carr is being chased down by Michael Thwaites. Thwaites now looking to the inside as they cross the start-finish line. And Thwaites in the Space Force number 12 Chevrolet Camaro hauls it off into turn 1 and secures P14 away from Mike Romander. Now, keep in mind that Michael Thwaites did qualify on the outside of row number 1, so he is digging his way back up toward the top of this piece, 1 car at a time.
And Romander started up there as well. Those guys are down 10 and 11 spots, respectively. as Carr just continues to backslide. I didn't see him hit anything, but he's already hemorrhaged 2 spots, and now he's starting to get under pressure again from Greg Carr. So Greg Carr trying to pass Alex Carr.
Taking a look right now at Alan Hilton in the number 8 Maestro Chevrolet Camaro. He's currently running in 7th position, up 3 from where he had started. But your biggest mover of the evening right now is Dennis Weeks. And don't look now, but Dennis Weeks is trying to chase down the 14. However, there's, at this point, 2.2 seconds between the two of them. Right now, Dennis Weeks needs to just desperately hold on and keep Christian Gomez away from that draft bubble.
Well, the other thing, too, is GT Hawkins led the first bit of this race before the caution. He was out to a 4-second gap when that caution flew, so he was probably using words and phrases that we can't repeat on air. But right now, Weeks, Gomez, and Heath are just trying to figure out what they've got to do to reel in that 14 of Hawkins.
Well, here's the thing, Tony, and I can't stress this enough. A lot of these setups, of course, we are in open setups tonight, and we'll talk about that in a few moments, folks. But we are in open setups, and I have to say, something that I've noticed on the iRacing servers over the last several weeks, as more and more data has become clear in the next-gen cars, these next-gen cars are designed for the long run. You can build some short-run speed in there, maybe in your qualifying setup, so on and so forth. But there's no such thing anymore as let's just tape up the front and hang on for dear life. These cars are designed for the long run. Sunday night I was racing at Pocono in SNN, got damage, and was actually faster after the damage. I was kind of upset I was down 5 laps. Yeah,
I mean, that was a rough one Sunday for you. But, Dave, I do stand corrected, and I apologize for giving you the wrong information. This is a fixed setup league.
And now I look like a clown.
No, that's my fault. That's on me. I gave you the wrong information. So I do apologize, folks. Dave's normally not a idiot.
Well, I mean,
he wasn't sure, and I didn't know, and I gave him the wrong info. I apologize.
I mean, I do appreciate the compliment that I'm not normally an idiot, but we've polled 100 people. Top 3 answers are on the board, and survey says, I appreciate your kindness, sir.
There you go.
Taking a look right now at the Autism Speaks number 97 Chevrolet Camaro, driven by Dennis Weeks, as Weeks has now lost ground on GT Hawkins. GT Hawkins now setting sail, as he is just going to be hitting his mark time and time again moving forward. I mean, they call it the battle box, but I have to be honest, Tony, not much of a battle here for the lead, as GT Hawkins has decided he is just going to dominate. He almost looks like somebody else who's about to take the track later tonight in the Western States Racing League. And, of course, you and I know him.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, yeah. Frank Marchese.
Yes, Frank Marchese, such a dominant driver over there at Western States. Hi, Frank, we love you. But, of course, Frank's going to be staring at the rear bumper of one Bentley Glazer all night long in Western States. Another fixed setup league here on the iRacing.com servers. And, GT Hawkins has a lot of these same qualities, as he has just set sail and hit those marks, Tony.
The thing is, I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be, because where those guys are going, they're going to the Brickyard. And Indy has been the bane of Bentley's existence for the past couple of seasons. So this is going to be the biggest week in the season to gain points on that young man.
And probably their only opportunity. And we talk about points and things like that. Make sure, folks, that if you're currently using another scoring system, of course, we know that iRacing has their own scoring system. A lot of us use another website out here on in the interwebs, if you will. Make sure that you head on over to the extremescoring.info webpage and check out their version of Whoa! My goodness.
How do you spell that?
Whoa or my goodness?
Yes.
Whoa, and my goodness, has everything to do with Garrett Heath and the number 88 Ford Mustang, as he had gotten loose right in front of Bryce Senesac, who had won last week at Daytona International Speedway, now running in 4th. And I'm pretty sure Senesac, who was trying to draft up to him, had simply taken the air off that diffuser, and, basically he just got loosened up. But anyway, Extremescoring.info, spelled XTREME scoring.info. Head on over there and consider moving on over off of your old and outdated scoring software over to Extreme, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like how they lay out the points, and it's easier for me to read, on the Extreme site than it is on any other scoring site. So I absolutely love that site. As a matter of fact, when I get ready to open my next league, that is exactly where I'm going for timing and scoring.
Without a doubt. I mean, listen, we all know which website that I'm talking about that we don't want you to go to anymore. We want you to go to extremescoring.info. And, to be completely fair, Tony, these guys here at the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series, they have treated us really well. So we want to make sure we treat them really well and get as many eyeballs onto their software as possible. Whoa! Senesac gets loose coming out of turn 4. Keeps it moving forward as he crosses the start-finish line and hops back into line right behind Garrett Heath.
He just drove a mile and a half down the front stretch to keep that car from going around, as that is going to give Heath a little bit of breathing room now, as he is now trying to reel in... here's the thing. GT Hawkins is out to 5 seconds over this battle for third, and he's got a second and a quarter over Dennis Weeks Jr., who currently is your biggest mover, plus 10, currently sitting in second.
And right now, from third all the way back through sixth, it just looks like nothing but a battle. And it's all, I say battle, and basically at this point, these 5 cars, single file, are going to be duking it out. And as they start to be able to draft up closer to one another, we're going to see the 80 and the 09 start to suck up to the rear of the 88 anytime now, as the 80 going to be able to push the 09, the 27 going to come along in tow, bringing the 8 car. They're going to get a lot closer as we get deeper into this run, with just under 100 laps to go here in the Ricmotech Cup Series. Wow, the 80 just drives it all the way down. We're going to take a look back at that, as that was kind of a unique look, and we'll see. He absolutely did. We are going to take a look here as King in the 80, that purple and black machine, coming out of turn number 2. He catches that low side, gets it loose, but look at the skill of this driver, able to keep it running forward, Tony.
He did. He didn't overcorrect it, because you know as well as I do, Dave, if you put too much... Whoa! Baby, Heath just ate the wall going through 3.
And now Senesac trying to keep it away, and we're going to take a look back at Garrett Heath as well. I have to be honest, because these things aren't popping up on iRacing timing and scoring, we've really got to be on our so-called game tonight, as so many of these things making it interesting to track down the incidents. Thank goodness we're seeing these in real time. There's the 88 rubbing the wall. The 09 winds up getting on his left rear quarter panel, and he keeps it together coming out of 4.
And on Heath lets him go, as now those two are trying to put some distance between himself and Christian Gomez, and they've got yeoman's work to do to try to reel in Dennis Weeks Jr., who's currently sits in second, who's a full 3 seconds up the road from these guys.
And Dennis Weeks here in the 97 Autism Speak Chevrolet Camaro, keeping it moving. He's got to be in one of the best positions, along from being behind or being GT Hawkins himself. You got to wonder, GT Hawkins might have been cooking these tires a little tough here, as Dennis Weeks starting to catch him now ever so gently, about 300th of a second each lap they pass.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the last lap times for your top 3, GT Hawkins, Dennis Weeks, and Bryce Senesac, 31.8, 31.7, 31.6. This is the time of a tire run where Senesac is going to start clawing forward. One of the best that we have seen on being able to save equipment later in a run. If we get a long green flag run, that's really going to play into Bryce Senesac's hands. And I kind of got to give him the nod over both Hawkins and Weeks being is he could get an undercut, as we are not that far away from seeing the next round of green flag pit stops.
Without a doubt. In fact, all of these drivers last coming in on lap number 33, so we now have, as GT Hawkins has crossed, they're exactly 30 laps on these tires and on this fuel, so things starting to get a little bit tighter. And Tony, I got to tell you, as we look through the field right now at Clifton Cockrell, John Sterling, Michael Thwaites, David Elliott, and Mike Rominger, these drive. Whoa! Looks like Thwaites gets loose coming out of turn 2. It seems turn 2 is our trouble turn tonight, Tony.
It absolutely is, and it's where the sun has been beating down all day, and we got trouble. The 10's around.
We stay green as the 10 was down.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was Gomez in the 27.
Gomez in the 27. Oh, absolutely. We're going to take a look now at what happened here with Christian Gomez in the 27. We can see him hauling it off into turn 3, keeping it moving forward. Of course, it looks like the 88 rubs the wall, comes down and catches the 27, who collects the 8 and the 80. The 80 managing to dive to safety. So, obviously, these cars out here knowing that those tires don't have a whole lot of life left in them. And as you had just said, they are greasy.
It would be like, and anybody that's from the Northeast, it would be like trying to drive down the New York State Thruway or the Schuylkill Expressway after a rainstorm in January. That's what these guys are experiencing right now.
That is definitely taking your life into your own hands. And the Schuylkill Expressway, I mean, I can see it from my window.
That's why I mentioned it.
Listen, that's taking your life into your own hands on a beautiful sunny day in March.
True story. Right now, though, we've got a battle starting to heat up for 6th and 7th as, the 3 of Sterling gets it all wrong coming off a 2. As we do go to the replay.
And we see the 12 just behind John Sterling. Sterling coming off of 2, and it looks like he and the 12 just kind of get together. We're going to try to switch maybe here to our chopper cam, as that might give us a better vantage point. As
get to the chopper.
Like get to the chopper. Doesn't look like the 12 made contact. Maybe a net code issue, but I don't want to make the call myself. But sends the 3 down onto that big wide apron, and I'm sure that a lot of these drivers tonight are thinking to themselves, wow, I can't believe that didn't bring out a caution. But as you had mentioned earlier, Tony, I mean, the apron here is a lot of real estate, so it gives people a lot of time to recover and get moving again.
It is, and it's probably one of the safest tracks we're going to go to. Now that they've got the catch fence up, nobody's putting them out of the park here anymore. They've got the safer barrier in effect, which really threw a curveball to a lot of these guys. That safer barrier goes all the way around this place, and that's 4 less feet that you have to play with to let the car run through the corner. But we do need to thank the 2 Eds over in the race control booth. It's Ed Morris Jr. and Sr., both being the eye in the sky tonight to make sure everything happens on the up and up.
Without a doubt. And I mean, to be completely honest, no race control situation is complete without, at the very least, having somebody up there competent and dedicated to what they're doing. Because, I mean, so often we see, people in these leagues, myself included, I know that you've experienced it, where without race control, it turns into a blender from hell.
It does, as we hear more crinking of those metal walls here that make up the outer portion of the safer barrier. Guys are definitely earning their Darlington stripes here tonight. But the good news is, again, with these carbon fiber bodies, you don't have to worry so much about the fenders caving in when you do make contact with the wall.
Going to commercial side by side.
And we are going to step away, pay a couple bills, but don't worry, we're going side by side. We'll be back right after this.
Drivers that took time, all of them within 3.5 tenths of each other tonight is going to be a very closely competitive race.
As the field works its way out of the 3-4 complex, the only thing that's left to say is wipe the visor, adjust the 5-point safety harness, because race fans, it's showtime!
Amazing looking cars already. Green flag will fly.
Well, oh, they're wrecking! Well, one thing that you're going to see at this track that we haven't seen the last few weeks is a surface that's multi-group. I think this is the first multi-group surface we're going to have.
After an amazing race at Daytona, we now come to the left coast and Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California for the second round of the Way She Goes Racing League Cup Series. And we are back for round number 2 of the Ricmotech Extreme Cup Series. Tony Trapasso, Dave Regal up in the booth with you tonight from the Lady in Black, Darlington International Speedway, the oldest racetrack in the NASCAR calendar. And Dave, we have seen some amazing action so far here tonight, and we're not at halfway yet.
No, we're working our way toward halfway, but with 77 laps in so far, things going to start to get hairy as Christian Gomez, the first to blink now as we are entering that green flag pit cycle, as he is now down on pit road. Everybody last coming down pit road on lap 33 and 34 for David Clayman. So, or at least the lead lap cars, that is. Looks like Garrett Heath also had come down, but he is now down a lap. So, right now, waiting to see when GT Hawkins might be flinching, as he hasn't been in since lap number 33.
Well, the good news is if you're David Clayman, yes, you are still on the lead lap, but he looks like he's going for that bonus point, and it's 2 bonus points if you finish the race with a 0x. So he is looking to get as many bonus points coming out of here as he can tonight. Clean race, not hitting anything, and so forth. So, you know, hats off to Clayman right now as he's a little squirrely coming off of 2, but keeps the car under him. And, you know, that car is as pristine as when they rolled it off the hauler. And just I say that, announcer's jinx. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can send your hate mail to ESBN, care of Syracuse, New York, to Mr. Tony Trapasso, owner of the Announcer's Jinx.
P.O. Box OU812. As he clatters the wall
again.
going through 1 and 2.
I'm going to get the camera away from him, as perhaps I'm doing this by accident. You know, one of the interesting things that I think we should probably talk to the Eds over there in race control about is if you can finish at Darlington with a 0x, really it should be 4 bonus points.
I would say 5 even.
Shoot, I mean, this has short track character for incident points, but super speedway character for movement and width.
Well, you figure these guys are hauling it off into turn number 3, north of 170 miles an hour. You know, but the turns are as treacherous as they are at Bristol, they're at Martinsville, at any of the shorter tracks we go to, even North Wilkesboro, where you know, we've seen some big problems there with it's just concrete. There's no safer barriers at Wilkesboro.
No, and we're looking right now at your race leader, GT Hawkins, the pride of Columbus, Ohio. And we're just going to look here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, Tony, at the speedometer as he gets ready to go down the back stretch now. And we just want to see where that top speed is as he goes into that, as turn 3 and 4 has a double apex that you see a lot of these drivers do, and he hits 172 before he gets into turn 3 and continues to stay out as we are on lap number 82 now, and he has not been in since lap number 33 for service.
John Sterling having problems in the 3 again. Looks like he had they got problems in front of him. That's Gant and Carr going after each other.
Well, they're calling it a love tap, but whoa, the 97 shooting down here. What in the world was that? Disappearing like that.
I'm thinking tires going south is the big culprit, as the last time any of these guys were last out on track was 50 laps ago.
You know, here's the thing. I guess at this point, GT Hawkins with a 2.27, 2.26 second lead over Dennis Weeks. He might as well stay where he is at this stage of the race with 84 laps of 155 in. We are now past the halfway point.
Well, the thing is, Dave, that lead was out to north of 3 seconds at one time, and now Weeks is steadily reeling him in, and Senesac is not letting Weeks get away from him either.
And it sounds like Alex Carr going to be getting ready to come on down pit road as he's going to come down alongside of Wes Gant, and that's Gant with 2 T's. And let's see here. So the 11 and the 25 going to be coming in together. David Elliott and the number 42 Chevrolet Camaro going to be coming down. This seems to be the moment where we're going to get ready to see GT Hawkins as he gets out of the way of the 5 car driven by Ryan Kling, as at this point he knows that he doesn't have anything for those fresh tires of Kling.
Kling was last down 10 laps ago, and you could see just how whooped the tires on Hawkins' car are with how easy the 5 was able to get by him on 10 lap into a tire run. So, and here we go. Senesac's in, Thwaite's in, King in, Clifton, Sterling, all in. So, and here comes the race leader, GT Hawkins, to cut off that undercut.
Of course, and that will leave Dennis Weeks out here. He's going to try to get himself a little bit of time here in the lead, as he has not been in since lap number 33. I have to imagine that car is now starving for fuel, as he is now the only car that has not come in for pit service. We should see him this time by.
That would be the safe bet. He wanted to stay out to get that bonus point for leading a lap and, take a lap away from GT Hawkins, and here he comes now down on that apron. You can see that's where they originally intended these cars to race, was down there. As not an easy pit road to get on and off of, as you got that little jut on the outside wall that you have to contend with. But Weeks coming down as Hawkins down and away. Garrett Heath going to pass him up in the 88. So Heath, as of this second, your effective race leader, but Hawkins has fresh shoes and expect him to charge.
And here's the thing, with Heath being up where he was, coming in on lap number 71, we basically know now that you can get about 50 laps, over 50 laps now on a set of tires. Well, I mean, maybe not safely, but at least 50 laps on that tank of fuel, even at 75%. So 88 laps of 155 complete, Tony. I got to be honest, this is starting to get to the point where I'm starting to wonder, whoa, my goodness, just had a flick of the wrist here and had taken away from that. I'm getting to the point, Tony, where I'm starting to wonder what comes next. Are we going to stay green, or are we going to start to see maybe these cold tires having an effect?
Well, I think we're going to see the fresh tires start to play an effect, as right now Garrett Heath is hemorrhaging time to GT Hawkins, and Hawkins is pulling away from Dennis Weeks Jr., who sits in third right now.
Keep going.
And we got a battle starting to heat up for seventh. That's Mike Rominger and Ryan King going after each other. David Elliott in the 42 right there as well. Throw a blanket over those three cars as they haul it down the back chute, stem to stern. And all three of those guys were down. Rominger was down on 86. Elliott was down on 84. And King, with the oldest tires of that trio, was down on 77. As we are just following along here, and just like that, battle for the lead as Garrett Heath is under pressure from Hawkins. Hawkins makes it look just that simple, and that's what a 15-lap newer set of tires can do for you as GT Hawkins just flashes by.
And you know, Tony, now that we've gotten through this green flag cycle of pit stops, we are going to step aside and pay some bills here. But don't worry, we'll be going side by side so you don't miss a moment of racing action here on ESPN on YouTube.com with the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you. Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Welcome back to Darlington Raceway as we have reached the century mark here on lap number 100. GT Hawkins, your race leader in the number 14 Toyota Camry, followed by Dennis Weeks in the number 97 Autism Speaks Chevrolet Camaro. Michael Thwaites running in third right now. Bryce Senesac, your winner last week at Daytona International Speedway, in fourth. And Mike Rominger in the number 29 Chevrolet Camaro, rounding out your top 10. And top 5, Garrett Heath, David Elliott, Alan Hilton, Alonzo King Jr., and Clifton Cockrell finishing the top 10. So lots of good racing tonight so far, as we are now 55 laps to go here in this piece. And I'll tell you what, so far we have seen some of the best racing, and this is cleaner than clean. And I hate to jinx that. And folks, if I did jinx it, you can always send your hate mail to the ESBN studios in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. But, right now, GT Hawkins has a commanding lead with nearly 6 seconds over Dennis Weeks and 10 seconds over Michael Thwaites. That means that the gap between Dennis Weeks and Michael Thwaites is 4 seconds all on its own. So plenty of real estate here on the racetrack tonight in Darlington, South Carolina. And Darlington, of course, the oldest track on the NASCAR circuit. And, you have to remember, folks, this is the next-gen car, the newest piece of equipment that NASCAR has on the oldest track NASCAR has. So, to me, it's always very interesting. And, the Cup Series has been coming here for more than 4 and 5 decades. The most wins here is, the record is held by David Pearson with 10 wins. Richard Petty, of course, the king, has 25 top 5s, and awesome Bill Elliott has 35 top 10s. Only one name kind of sticks out. Wow! And I'm not sure who that was getting sideways. We'll take a look. Trying to look back here and see who that might have been. That would be Mark Hanna in the number 45 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Camry. One of the interesting things is, you would think if you have the most laps led, 2,648, that would be held by Dale Earnhardt, that he would also have a few more wins than he does. But unfortunately, he doesn't have all 10 like David Pearson does, Tony.
This is true. David Pearson, the winningest driver here at the Southern 500 in Darlington International. And those were some great battles going on in the 60s and 70s between Pearson and Petty. And Petty, of course, running most of the time for the Mopar camp. Pearson behind the wheel of those Woods Brothers Mercuries at the time. Just some amazing battling going on. But everything seems to have calmed down a little bit here, with the exception of GT Hawkins, as he's now out to 6.25 seconds over Dennis Weeks.
Absolutely. Now, you talk about David Pearson in his Wood Brothers Mercuries. The Wood Brothers, who have been in NASCAR as long as Darlington Raceway has been in NASCAR, we look at them now as kind of like an odd little team. They usually only field one car that's, of course, sponsored by Ford and Ford Motor Power. But interestingly enough, they were among some of the most advanced in NASCAR for more than 3 decades before, some of the advanced technology started coming into play. Those guys were dealing with, wind tunnels and experimentation like that long before it was a standard here in the industry.
Well, the Ford Motor Company actually hired them to go to both Indianapolis and Le Mans to pit the cars at both of those 2 major events. Yeah. So, the modern pit stop as we know it today was really invented by the Wood Brothers team, and the fact that, they were one of the first ones to start practicing pit stops. They were one of the first ones to figure out, okay, if we crank the pressure up on these air guns, we can really make them sing and cut down our time to hit those lug nuts. The quick jack, that the one pump and up that we see NASCAR teams using today, that was invented by Glenn Wood.
See, now that I didn't know. And, you know, we've talked so many times over, you know, the last several months working together, Tony. You are a wealth of information. And speaking of a wealth of information, go on over to the Sim Racing Media podcast page on Spotify or on simracingmedia.com and check out our podcast. Last week, I got to do something really cool. I don't know if anybody out there in our audience listening or watching happens to know who Justin Danger Nunley is on TikTok, but I got to have a sit-down interview with him last week, and we had a really nice conversation, about 40 minutes long, and actually the off-air was even more exciting, but unfortunately that wasn't recorded. But go on over there and check that out. Now, if you don't know who Justin Danger Nunley is on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, he's the guy that wears his hat backwards and starts his video with, "Listen, did you know?" And man, what a great guy. Just an absolute gem of a human being, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check that out on simracingmedia.com. You can find the link to the podcast over there. But, you know, Dave, I'm watching this battle going on right now for ninth, between John Sterling and Wes Grant. And it was shades of Earnhardt and Mark Martin back in the late 80s, early 90s. The only problem is the GM Goodwrench number 3 is on a Ford Mustang, and the Valvoline paint scheme is on a Chevy Camaro.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's... Oh,
Yeah.
and the 11 just bites a little wall and loses ground on the 3. You know what, Tony? Now that you're saying that and I'm looking at it, we're going to look at it together here, folks, as we see the number 11 Valvoline Chevrolet Camaro chasing down John Sterling in the number 3 GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang, which, wow, that's confusing in and of itself looking at these two cars.
Something that's also confusing, take a look at where your leader is. GT Hawkins is now right on the back of Clifton Cockrell. He is lapped all the way up to 13th and about to put 12th place a lap down.
You know, and there's Clifton Cockrell just ceding the position, deciding to err on the side of caution. You know, the interesting thing that we see here at Darlington and in a lot of these fixed setup races is a fixed setup race puts all of the onus on the driver. That puts all of that responsibility to get up there and get ahead of everybody on the driver's strength, and everybody's chassis is exactly the same. Every spring perch, every ride height, every tire pressure is exactly the same. So this is all skill of GT Hawkins as he hauls it down into turn 1 on lap number, turn 3 on lap number 115. And when he comes across the stripe right here, we'll be on lap number 116 of 155 on ESPN. You are watching the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series here on Tuesday nights. Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso here in the broadcast booth. Of course, I say here in the broadcast booth, Tony, but you're not in Philly and I'm not in Syracuse. It always feels kind of weird because it feels like we're sitting next to each other.
It does. And, you know, I have to say that we have one of the greatest core group of broadcasters anywhere in the iRacing servers.
We really do. I mean, you know, and we're not trying to toot our own horn or anything, but beep, beep, beep. I mean, Tony, I love hanging out with you for a couple hours, you know, every week as we work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays together. Of course, tomorrow night we'll be working the Thunderclap series at 9 p.m. and right here on ESPN. And, of course, you get to work with Father Frank Marchese as, you know, I'm currently filling in with him on a Wednesday, and we've got Greg McConey as well. I mean, you know, a lot of the talent that we have here at ESPN, we love to work together, and it just makes climbing into the broadcast studio fun every night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't forget Liam Irving, Cliff Corvo, Angel Santiago, James Riles, John Leach, you know, from and both of the Lesters, Damon and Joseph Lester, the father and son duo. But, I mean, again, I'd put our lineup up against anyone out there.
Absolutely. I mean, believe you me, Fox Sports isn't calling for any of us anytime soon. But it's nice to know that when you crawl into the booth, especially if you're filling in for somebody, because one of the mantras at Sim Racing Media is always, real life has to come first. I mean, I have a full-time job. You have, appointments to get to, so on and so forth. So, and Bryce Senesac coming down pit road here on lap number 119. It looks like Bryce is going to try to come in early and see if he can cycle himself up to the lead, Tony.
He is at that, as he's got to do something to try to reel in GT Hawkins, as Hawkins right now has lapped all the way up to 8th. He just put Wes Grant down. So your top 8 are your only lead lap cars that are left.
That is something to behold, especially at a place like Darlington. I mean, obviously GT Hawkins tonight has this racetrack's number, and obviously it is 1-800-Lady in Black, care of KL5 Darlington, South Carolina. By the way, do you know where KL5 comes from, or why we use 555 in television?
Yeah, it comes from the Tommy Two-Tone song.
There you go. All right, I'm glad that you're there. But
because back when the song 8675309 Jenny was released, it just so happened that the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio's daughter was named Jennifer, and their home number was 8675309.
I've heard on more than one occasion that Cleveland rocks. Is that true?
It used to rock harder than it does now. It needs to be rejuvenated. I mean
that's
at least it's not Cincinnati.
No, Cincinnati they can keep. The only thing worthwhile there is to go to when you go to the Queen City is to go check out Great American Ballpark.
Exactly. Meanwhile, we got a battle starting to heat up for 4th and 5th right now.
Were you saying exactly just to get me off of baseball before I went down the rabbit hole?
Correct, sir. As we got a battle for 4th, getting hot and heavy right now, as Alonzo King and Mike Rominger are going after each other. King with a little bit of breathing room now, as Rominger fades back, going through 3 and 4. And here comes the 8 of there. Alan Hilton.
Alan Hilton now has Rominger in his sights, and I got to be honest, watching Hilton run through this turn right there, he had caught a little bit of apron, but manages to keep that car going forward. I have to say, in the Gen 6 car, with the way that that suspension was set up, that probably would have spun him out. But the independent suspension here with the next-gen cars has made it a lot more interesting.
What's going on with Rominger is he just willfully gave up spots there.
That I'm not sure, but now who was it just back there? Now I'm trying to find them.
That was
the 23 of Jeff Taylor, also starting to fall off a little bit here, as he is behind Bryce Senesac. Senesac, who had fought his way up so far earlier, came down early, and maybe he's trying to cycle up to the lead, and we'll see as GT Hawkins last came in on lap number 86. We're now at lap 125. Of course, Senesac coming in on 118 means that he can absolutely get all the way to the end if we stay green. We see the 09 now working his way around the 80 car of Alonzo King Jr. Jr. starting to haul it off down here on the backstretch. He hasn't been in since lap number 85, but Dennis Weeks, Michael Thwaites, David Elliott, Mike Rominger, John Sterling, and Clifton Cockrell all coming down pit road.
And the gap to Hawkins is almost the pit delta. About halfway there. You might lose a couple of spots here, but it all depends on what King and Hilton both do, as they are still 24 seconds behind, and looks like they're staying. Hawkins down pit road, as here comes King now to get his money stop out of the way. Hilton going to follow him down, so there is Senesac coming through 1 and 2 right there. Actually, he's coming through 2 right now.
And he is coming hard as he comes down the backstretch to shoot it to turn 3. We're going to see if he can make it. Watch there in the upper corner of your screen as he is going to be chasing down GT Hawkins, something heavy, as Hawkins comes off of pit road as he is driving toward that all-important blue cone. We see Senesac in second. He's going to get around. Maybe not.
No, he's not.
He's still
not
6
easily,
seconds
anyways.
behind.
As Hawkins,
My goodness.
Hawkins has cleared the pit out cone, and now Senesac has to deal with the lap car in front of him. That is the 29, and this advantage for Senesac is going to last maybe 2 laps. As Hawkins is on the fresh rubber and he's trying to get up to speed, Senesac, though, makes quick work of the lapper, and he is steadily reeling in Hawkins. Hawkins has to get those tires up to temperature quick.
Absolutely. And I mean, quite frankly, we see Senesac now with a 4.2 second gap between himself and Hawkins. Hawkins
there it
desperately,
goes.
There it is. He's gotten it all nice and tight now.
He had a little bit of heat in those tires, and now he's starting to walk back away from Senesac. Last week's winner, not having an easy time of it here tonight at the Lady in Black, but, definitely something that, it can't be too down on yourself. It's just GT Hawkins was on another level tonight. And next week, we go to something completely different again, as we're in my neck of the woods, the Finger Lakes wine country of central New York, as race number 3 is going to be at Watkins Glen International next week.
I have to be honest, Tony, even as an oval racing fan myself, Watkins Glen is probably the most entertaining road course that we have on the NASCAR schedule, no?
It depends on what you like watching. It's one of the less technical tracks to get around, but you still have to be spot on your braking zones, your shifting points. You cannot miss at all at Watkins Glen. Basically, with the layout that they've got for the Cup cars at Watkins Glen, because we don't run the boot that the Indy cars and the endurance cars run, it's essentially a backwards oval. I mean, if you break that track down into its rawness, that track is a backwards oval, and you got one true left turn, and that is the penultimate corner that leads you back to the final corner to get to the start finish line again. So it's a backwards oval with one true left-hand turn. You can float that corner, but if you're set up right to turn right, you can make up a lot of speed there.
Oh, without a doubt. And as not a great driver, there's a reason that I'm better off sitting here in the broadcast booth, as you and I have discussed numerous times. I think Watkins Glen is the road course that I feel most comfortable on. So, everything that you've just laid out here in front of us makes sense now and kind of adds color to that picture.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have the dramatic elevation changes like a place like Mid-Ohio or Road America or Sonoma, or Circuit of the Americas. There's some big elevation changes at those tracks. Watkins Glen, you've got a little bit of an uphill coming through the S's, but then it's gradually, turn 1 is a downhill, but who's counting?
And you do mention Road America there. Tony, Road America was in the news this week, but not exactly for what would be considered good news for them, as looks like NASCAR going to be heading to Chicago, the city, not Chicagoland in Aurora, but, I'm sorry, not Aurora, Joliet, but Chicago, the city.
Yeah, they're racing downtown in Chicago, and I just want to know, is NASCAR supplying the flak jackets for the crews, or do they have to bring their own?
I'm pretty sure it's BYOFJ. I'm pretty sure. Which I feel like the kind of the crew that we have, we shouldn't be too afraid of anything like that.
No. Our crew doesn't have to worry about anything like that. But where there's all sorts of pools going on right now, as far as how many haulers get broken into, how many cars are going to get stripped clean before the race. because unfortunately, NASCAR picked probably, I'm not going to say it's the worst city, but it is the murder capital of the United States right now. So they're going to have to really beef up security at that event to make sure that, nothing comes up missing, nobody gets injured. And, that's my biggest fear is, some idiot going to try to make themselves famous. And, no, thank you.
No. In fact, that has. Don't get me wrong. I think a street course is really interesting. I think that Chicago is flat enough where, elevation change and things like that do not become a factor. It's not like here in Philadelphia where, I saw it online. Where would the street course be in Philadelphia? And they were talking more about highways where, there are big, wide boulevards and avenues in Chicago that allow racing to take place. So definitely excited to see that kind of change for NASCAR as they're going to be re-entering the Chicago area market, but unfortunately not at the Classic Oval out there in Joliet.
Well, here's the thing. They could have had a readily available road course to them by going to Belle Isle or Long Beach. But no, they chose to go with a fantasy track that iRacing created.
Well, here's the thing. It more than likely, you have to remember when iRacing does something like that, it kind of gives people a little bit of a look down the telescope. Wow, the 14 of GT Hawkins just working his way around. He's about to put John Sterling down a lap as Sterling cedes 7th position over, and now there are 6 on the lead lap, 6 cars on the lead lap. Now, one of the things that you can look at that iRacing.com had done, as far as getting a racetrack built or reopened, is after the North Wilkesboro scan and, digital revival that we had gone through, now all of a sudden we're looking at short track racing at North Wilkesboro this year, because iRacing can spark that interest because there are, for lack of a better term, a lot of powerful people that spend time on the iRacing servers.
There absolutely are. And, names like Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., all sorts. If you name the series, chances are you're going to find at least 5 of the top 5 drivers in the iRacing server. And I don't care what series it is, except maybe Formula One. I don't think that any of the Ferrari drivers are going to want to try to drive that Mercedes. But, the fact that, we have such high-profile names that you and I could race against. I remember I raced against Tony Stewart and Greco Abreu in the sprint cars one night, and I finished 3rd. I was pretty proud of myself that I finished on the same lap as both of those guys, let alone coming home on the podium.
I was about to say, if I see those 2 names in my lobby, I'm just kind of glad to be on the same lap, much less getting to the end in one piece.
That's exactly it.
I'm always reminded, in some of these races that we see here on the iRacing servers, the words of Desmond Llewellyn in the old James Bond films. Bond, bring it back in pristine order. And sometimes when we see those incident reports at the end of a race, we know that nothing came back to that hauler in pristine order.
You are not wrong, but one of the things this league prides itself on, of course, you are watching the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Cup Series here on the eSports Broadcasting Network. Tony Trapasso, Dave Regal up in the booth with you. But one of the things this league really prides itself on is they do give the bonus points for a clean race. The only question is anybody going to survive tonight? We will be able to give you that information when we do go to post-race interviews. But from what I've seen, there's only about 2 cars that haven't hit anything.
And one of those 2 cars is GT Hawkins here in the number 14 Toyota Camry, as he has not gotten his Darlington stripe. And to be completely honest, Tony, with now 10 laps to go, I don't think he wants to see that Darlington stripe.
Absolutely not. When you're out to a 13.5-second lead over second place, which Dennis Weeks Jr. and Michael Thwaites have gotten by last week's winner, Bryce Senesac. The fact that Senesac came in earlier than anybody in front of him, but he's still holding court right now over Alonzo King. That does speak volumes. And these guys are just picking them up, laying them down. They settled in. We had a caution about 33 laps in, but it wasn't anything malicious. It was just tires starting to wear out and a driver not as aware as they probably could have been, looping a car and causing a little bit of a melee. But, right now, Hawkins is just flying. And, GT Hawkins is just flying. And it's going to take a miracle for anyone to catch him right now.
Absolutely. And as we get ready to go side by side, GT Hawkins, your race leader, leads Dennis Weeks by 13 seconds, Tony. Michael Thwaites running in third. Bryce Senesac, Alonzo King Jr., David Elliott, and Alan Hilton. Your 7 cars on the lead lap with 8 laps to go. We are going to go side by side one more time here on ESPN.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
And we are back at Darlington International Raceway for round number 2 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Cup Series, as your leader still working his way through traffic. 2 laps to go. GT Hawkins out to over almost 14 seconds to the good over Dennis Weeks Jr. as he's coming through 3 and 4. Going to see the white flag this next time by. Hawkins has just been on a rail tonight, completely in a different level.
And taking a look at Dennis Weeks, the pride of Chesapeake, Virginia, driving the number 97 Autism Speak Chevrolet. And I'll tell you what, these drivers tonight, they've really tried to put the work in. And quite frankly, here with the white flag in the air, it seems like GT Hawkins has just put more work than everybody in.
He has at that. As here he comes off turn number 4 for the final time. Hawkins gonna win going away, as we still have 13 seconds before Dennis Weeks Jr. is going to cross the line. There he comes out of turn number 4 now under the checkered flag. Michael Thwaite's going to come home in 3rd, Bryce Senesac in 4th, and Alonzo King rounding out your top 5. David Elliott and Alan Hilton rounding out your lead lap cars.
Absolutely. And this race, I mean, don't get me wrong, GT Hawkins has been incredibly dominant all night long. But as he comes down here on the front stretch, crosses the start-finish line, he is going to celebrate, and he has earned every bit of this, as we can see all these fans here in the stands at Darlington Raceway in South Carolina. So happy for GT Hawkins, who won by what has to be one of the largest victory margins we've seen so far this year, Tony.
He absolutely has. And, you know, as he's bringing it down pit road, not really he is celebrating. Sorry. I had the wrong car pulled up. But, Dave, I believe you've got our... Maybe not. Why is that down there? Stop moving. True story. There we go. I believe you've got GT Hawkins with you now.
GT Hawkins, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother? Oh. GT Hawkins, Dave Regal, Tony Trapasso up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
I'm going to take that as a definite maybe. So we will come back to our race winner.
Can you see if we've got? See if you can get a hold of DJ Weeks, Tony.
DJ Weeks, congratulations on coming home with a podium here at one of the toughest tracks we're going to visit all season. Talk us through how your race went with the Autism Speaks number 97 tonight.
Well, I kind of bombed qualifying, so I had to start, I think, mid-pack. And the first run, I started picking them off, and I was like, okay, I think I have top 5 speed. And then I got to second, and GT's just so fast. So I was like, all right, well, I got to keep the 12 behind me. And that's kind of how I raced the rest of it. But I am worn out.
You sound it, my friend, is, definitely a lot of guys having some issues here tonight, not really able to get in a groove, but you guys went quite a distance with those green flag runs. How bad was the tire wear tonight?
It was wearing the left front and the right rear evenly, which is kind of weird. That's what's kind of giving that loose off feel. But if you just pedaled it and just not full throttle, you can power off and keep going. I think GT figured it out. I was figuring it out. This is one of my favorite tracks, so I love it. But 155 laps seems like an eternity when you're closely focused and not trying to hit the wall. I think I caught it a couple times, but relatively clean though.
Yeah, absolutely. But next week we go to something completely different. As DJ, I'm just looking right now. You did get the bonus points for a clean race.
There's something here, right?
Absolutely. As next week we go to my neck of the woods and Watkins Glen International, first road course of the season. What are your thoughts going into that?
I mean, I love road racing. I don't particularly think I'm that fast, but I do keep it on the pavement, I think. And I don't think I ran with a lot of these guys here on the road courses yet. I was in the Arca League when these guys were in the Cup League, so I think I'll be fine. This car is a little tricky, though. It doesn't like to stop sometimes, so hopefully people are aware of that when we go there.
All right, DJ, we're going to let you go celebrate the podium with your team. Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
Thanks to you guys for broadcasting it. It's good to always go back and watch these things. You guys do a great job. Thanks to Ricmotech for sponsoring this league, Extreme. Thanks for Ed Morris and Ed Morris Sr. for adminning. It's not always the easiest thing, but they do a fantastic job. Thanks to Outlaw Racing. autism speaks, Pro Air, everything's on this car, and keeps me going.
All right, DJ Weeks, congratulations on podium here at Darlington. We will see you next week at the Glen.
Thanks, guys.
And Dave, I believe you should have our race winner with you now.
Let's see what happens there. GT Hawkins, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha. How's it going?
All right, man. Hey, listen, sorry about the earlier attempt to talk to you, but listen, the pride of Columbus, Ohio, bringing home the checkered flag tonight. 2 weeks, 2 different winners, and man, you have to have won by the largest gap I've seen in a long time on the iRacing servers.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't drove these cars a whole lot, so I was learning, and I felt like I was doing well in 1 and 2. I think that was the main reason why I got such a gap. But I wasn't great in 3 and 4. I mean, whatever I would gain in 1 and 2, I felt like I gave up in 3 and 4. So, yeah, I just tried to be consistent and save the right rear. It was interesting driving a car where you have to save the right rear as opposed to the right front. So that's testament to the setups that we have here this season. So, yeah, I had fun. Just tried to be consistent more than anything else.
I'll tell you what, man, you must have gone to the Nick Saban school of critiquing. I mean, you beat everybody by 13.8 seconds. You tell us that you haven't really had a lot of practice and that you weren't so great in certain turns, but man, you were aces tonight. I mean, you know, you should be absolutely proud of what you've done here in South Carolina. The Palmetto State is obviously a good place for you to be. And, you know, I mean, next week, as Tony was just talking to DJ, you know, we're going somewhere completely different in the words of Monty Python. And, you know, we're going road racing. So how do you feel about road racing and turning right versus left?
Oh, I love it. I love it in the stock cars, especially. I think it's a blast. But I know these guys. I know there's a few ringers out there that will be good competition next week too. So I'm excited to battle it out with everybody. This is the first time I got a chance to race with a lot of the people here. I was just commenting to my team. I thought it was, I appreciated a lot of the etiquette here. It was really impressive tonight. So I appreciated everybody for driving well and getting along well. And I think we'll have the same next week.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, something that we had noticed listening in on race radio during the race itself. I mean, you guys are always encouraging, you know, apologetic when it's your fault. I mean, just really good race etiquette. So that's a great way to put it. And GT, before we cut you loose here, anybody that you'd like to tip your helmet to?
Yeah, I just want to thank my my teammates, GT Motorsports, Ed and everybody Extreme for putting on this league. You guys for broadcasting, and all my friends, family out there watching. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, listen, you go ahead and you go enjoy this win, and we will see you next week at the Glen. And Tony, I believe you have Michael Thwaites with us now. Yes or no?
Michael Thwaites, all things considered, can't be too disappointed in a podium finish at one of the toughest tracks we're going to visit all season.
Oh, no, can't be mad at all.
Talk us through some of the battles that you were going on with, because I know that in the closing laps there, you and Senesac were really going after each other.
Yeah, the one before the pit stop. Yeah, no, that was fun. I was just two teammates, two friends racing.
Absolutely, is you know, if you can't beat on your teammates, who can you beat on, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
exactly.
Next week we're going to try not to beat on each other as we go to the Finger Lakes region of Central New York and Watkins Glen International. How do you feel about turning right next week?
Well, it's honestly, I didn't know what next week's race was, so
surprise!
It's a surprise. Yeah. No, I'm fine with it. No, that's fine. I like Watkins Glen. I'll be good there.
All right. Mike, we're going to let you go celebrate with the rest of your team. Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
Everybody at Extreme, Ed, Ricmotech, my teammates at Prime Time, what you guys do up here in the booth at ESBN, and Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, Michael, again, congratulations on a podium here at Darlington. We will see you next week at the Glen.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Well, Tony, another one in the books here at the
Yes, sir.
Lady in Black in Darlington, South Carolina. What an impressive race from start to finish. I mean, limited cautions. In fact, I feel like if I said that I lost count, it's one. I mean, that's impressive. Out of 155 laps at this place, boogieing around this track, these drivers have a lot to hang their hat on tonight as we take a look at the final results here from Darlington. Tony, GT Hawkins in the number 14 Toyota Camry brings home the checkered flag. Dennis Weeks finishing second on the podium, and Michael Thwaites rounding out your top three. Bryce Senesac, last week's winner at Daytona, finishes fourth, and Alonzo King Jr. in the number 80 Chevrolet Camaro rounding out the top five. David Elliott in the number 42 Chevrolet. Alan Hilton in his number 8 Chevrolet. A lot of Chevys here in the top 10, finishing in seventh. John Sterling in the GM Goodwrench number 3 Ford Mustang. Greg Carr finishes ninth, and Clifton Cockrell rounding out your top 10, Tony.
Absolutely. Wes Gant and Jeremy Clifton, Garrett Heath, Alex Carr, and Ryan Kling rounding out your top 15. Jeff Taylor, come on, work with me here. There we go. Jeff Taylor, Mike Rominger, Dave Clayman, Mark Hanna, and Max Shade rounding out your top 20 as... Come on. The last three cars to finish here tonight. Christian Gomez and James Byrne, the last one to actually take the green. Brandon Shirley retired early.
Without a doubt. And, again, something that we need to keep an eye on here in that far right column is that there were just 7 cars left on the lead lap this evening that GT Hawkins didn't manage to get himself around. And as I talked to him in his post-race interview, Tony, I mean, here's a guy who he critiques himself like Nick Saban from the Alabama Rolling Crimson Tide. I mean, he dominates and still finds faults. I mean, that means that he could be that much better out here on a track in the fixed setup. So looking forward to what he can do next week at Watkins Glen up in your neck of the woods, Tony. So why don't you go ahead, take us home and get us out of here, buddy?
Well, for Mr. Dave Regal over on the ones and twos in the production truck tonight, this is Tony Trapasso. Remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that as you walk down the road of life this week, don't play in traffic. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night, everybody. Good night.